through the 28th, 14th.
Plan Commission to order. I'll ask staff to take a quick roll call.
Oh, sure. Wayne Clark.
Yes.
Brian Frank.
Here.
Lisa Kuhn. Eric Torkelson. Here. Kathleen Dagenhart.
Here.
Brandon Reinke.
Here.
Aaron Devine.
Here. All good.
Lisa is on en route.
Okay.
I just saw her.
Okay. Just to take a minute to introduce, yeah, there's Lisa. Our new planner, Emily, joining our team.
Right.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
I won't make you give a bio, you can just sit, unless you want to.
I don't know. It depends. Are you all going to ask me individually about my life, or should I just address it as a collective?
Came from Mount Pleasant.
Yes, I did. I hail from Mount Pleasant, though I really live in West End. So going to West Allis, not only was it a community I am proud to work there, it's also a heck of a lesson. So I'm very happy to be here. It's been a pleasure working with Steve and Jack and everything. And yeah, I was the planning intern for Mount Pleasant. I currently am attending graduate school at UW-Milwaukee for urban planning. Soon to be graduating-ish. I don't know, we still gotta work out the details, but I'm darn close. I'm like a semester away. So, happy to be here, happy to serve you all and work with you all, and it's a pleasure.
All right, welcome, thanks. Next item will be approval of the minutes from our April 24th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion or are there any changes? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. And we'll go to item D, we'll take up item number 2.
Thank you.
Turn it over to staff.
Novanessus is here this evening. Their design team, or their company and design team is here. Novanessus is formerly also known as Chris Hansen, 915 Maple. And this is the project location. 92nd Street is to the west, Union Pacific Rail to the south, and then to the north, Mitchell Street, and just east of their campus is 89th Street. They've been around for quite some time, dating back to the 1920s in West Allis as well. This is their was Chris Hansen's corporate headquarters. Novanessus is, I think, also based in North Carolina. But they are just sort of the history of this site over time. The original plant being located sort of in the center between the 2020 edition and the freezer, the 2003 freezer edition, and then more recently there was a THOR project that was approved last year in 2023. THOR stands for Thunderously High Output Reach. So they're really focused on biosciences, advancing their craft. They merged, or I should say joined Novanessus. Chris Hansen joined Novanessus to create sort of just a larger, more robust biosciences company. And Novanessus means new beginning. The company focuses on food systems, for example, probiotics, as well as creating animal proteins without animals. So it's a very high-tech and innovative company, international. It's been told to us that roughly about 3 billion people per day are in some way come in contact with the products that Novanessus and Chris Hansen create, some of which from this site. So with that, The area that we're going to talk about this evening is on sort of the far northeast corner of the site, and it's the last 2023 Thor edition was about 80,000 square feet in total, with 2 floors, and the 2024 Thor project is going to be 50,000 square feet, about 25,000 square feet per floor on that northeast corner. Just sort of another schematic look at it. There are a couple smaller little additions, building additions in addition to the 50,000 square foot Thor addition we're going to be talking about tonight, the Thor 2. There is a small chemical building, some new liquid nitrogen tanks, and then also a blower addition on the site as well. Those are just sort of smaller, more minor additions to the site, but it's the overall scope. The project is, or the property is zoned I1, light industrial, and light industrial uses such as biosciences company and so on are considered permitted uses within that zoning district. We talked about the size of the phase 2 addition at 50,000 feet, but in addition to that, there's also a sound wall that's proposed around the exterior of the site, and on that's the darker black line. The sound wall is currently there today, but with the expansion, they're going to be shifting some portions of that sound wall to additionally accommodate and buffer the 4 new liquid nitrogen tanks that are shown on the site plan just to the west of the new Thor addition. Sound wall can be roughly between 12 and 15 feet tall, varying spots of the site, and it's done overall a fairly good job of minimizing some of the tanks when they're filled. The nitrogen tanks when they're filled do off-put sometimes a squealing noise or a sound at night and or during the day when they're filled. And the hours of filling take place between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. The number of trucks will be increasing from 7 to 12 per day. And then they currently have about 299 parking stalls on the site. All of those are further east on the site, on the near 92nd Street. All the trucks come in and out from 92nd Street. Nothing's going out on the 89th or into Maple Street or to Mitchell. Everything's coming in and out on 92nd. There was the company operates on 3 shifts. Those hours aren't changing, so remain the same with the new addition. And the construction schedule is to start this year in July and then finish 2 years from now, in roughly about June of 2026. The 2 lifts that are being done there, a big part of that's going to be just the shell of the building, and then the second part is going to be the internal workings, the fixtures and fermentation tanks and things like that take place within the building. That's the reason for the time of construction. Neighborhood outreach meeting has been conducted back in April 25th, and a number of neighbors did show up, and overall Nova Nessus did provide a very good presentation of the existing operation, the proposed use and expansion. There were some concerns with respect to just the length of construction time, and I think there's some construction fatigue in the neighborhood, obviously with the 3 different phases that have taken place over the past several years. I think the neighborhood is just a little fatigued in some respects to that, but this is likely one of the last phases of expansion that we'll see on this site, and then we would hope just moving forward things would run as usual. Nova Nessus, Chris Hansen have been very good partners with the community within the neighborhood that they live in, so to speak. Have connected on numerous occasions, different public outreach events. They're also very responsive. If there is a complaint or concern within the neighborhood, they do have contact people. They are responsive to those concerns, whether it's lighting, whether it's the sound, those types of things. Construction, they do have people that do public relations for the team, for the neighborhood. So just the second phase that was approved last year, and then the 2024 expansion. You can see the green space. Some changes in this area are, in addition to the liquid nitrogen tanks, There's a driveway on Mitchell Street right now that is gonna be removed, a parking lot in that area also that's gonna be removed and then grassed over. There's a filtration pond in that, between those dash lines just south of Mitchell Street. You see the tighter gradients. That's an existing feature that was built with the 2023 Thor project and is capacity to serve for the future expansion of the 2024 project. New landscaping will be infilled along the perimeter of the site. Chris Hansen, Novanesses have done a great job in the past of providing perimeter landscaping around the property, maintaining it, and this is no different. They will continue to do so with a new project expansion. And just some floor plans of the lower level of the expansion in the second floor. Then we'll get into architecture. This is where we left off the last time when we, in 2023, I think it was, with the first phase of Thor expansion. This is what the property was planned to look like and what it does look like today. With the expansion, that's going to extend to the east from phase 2. It'll consist of precast concrete panels, also green banding. We've got banding around the exterior. New window openings on 3 sides of the new building, and then a covered exterior staircase to match the others that are further south in the building. And the north elevation, again, featuring larger curtain glass walls. On the north elevation, this side faces Mitchell Street. And then this side faces, well, 92nd Street at a distance, but this is the west elevation, which is more interior to the site. Likely not seen by too many of public unless you're really looking for it. And then this is one of the, I believe this is the chemical or the blower building. This will be split face block featuring some overhead doors. Yeah, this is the blower building. The chemical building will be similar in nature. So staff is recommending approval subject to the conditions in your staff report. Notably, with respect to some coordination with our engineering department on transformer locations with respect to a water line. Also, some landscaping plan revisions subject to our city forester's review. Then we also like for there to be, again, just sort of this ongoing emphasis on public relations with the neighborhood through the construction process. The neighborhood is obviously somewhat fatigued in some cases with construction staging, concrete trucks and so on coming and going through the various phases of construction. And access to that area is they're going to need to operate on Mitchell Street on 89th Street during the construction process somewhat, but just staying in touch with the neighborhood, proactively staying in touch with them in advance of something happening, just to spread the word, communicate with the neighborhood, to give people a heads up before it happens is recommended. Aside from that, a lot of this is just sort of standard conditions with the street excavation permit and the stormwater compliance. But if you have any questions, we're happy to entertain at this point. We do have members from Novanesses here with us this evening too.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
Questions? Wayne?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for the applicant. In the third paragraph of your one-page plan commission summary, you say the plans for the project pending corporate approval. That's what I'd like to focus on and understand where the corporate approval process is at the moment.
We've received approval for the project.
So that's a go.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think, they've been very good to West Allis. Drive by there all the time, and it's in good condition. It looks good. I would move for approval on this.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. We can move on. Item 3. We take.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Take ABC ABC and D
borrow your
together,
pen?
Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah.
ABC. Yeah, okay. Turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a proposal for 4 different items for 6400 West Greenfield Avenue. This is for a redevelopment plan for proposed mixed-use apartment building. With this is also the review for the site landscaping architectural plans, a certified survey map, creation of a plan unit development district, and a land sale agreement as well. Looking over the initial site, currently there are 5 parcels on the existing redevelopment site area. On that site is the vacant crawdaddies and former Spotlight with some residential on the above units. Proposed for that site are 2 different buildings. Both are going to be 3 stories tall with one with residential fully townhomes, and then the other with residential and also retail space. The existing zoning of the properties are as follows. Property 1, which is on that southeast corner of C3. Property 2 is zoned as park. Property 3 is zoned as C2. There might have been a slight error in that, but the northern parcels are zoned residential and the southern parcels are zoned C3. Proposed zoning for that is to make the southwest, with the certified survey map, a new outlot that will be primarily for the parkland that will be dedicated to the city. That is in the southwest corner of the site. And then the lot 1, newly created lot 1, will be for the mixed use, the 2 developments, the mixed use building and the townhome building. On the site, there's 25 surface parking stalls shown on the northern portion of the site. 16 garage stalls will be utilized. These are interior to the townhouse building, which is located on that west side of the development. Proposed on that mixed-use building on the east side of the development is 1 2,500 square foot cafe / retail space, along with 11 units for apartments. On the second building, there are going to be 8 townhouse units in those 3 stories with private balcony access towards the newly dedicated public park. Those will be private accesses, and the park will be serviced by various interlinking pedestrian pathways throughout the park, along with a large patio for that future retail space. Access for that surface parking lot will be provided by both 64th Street and 65th Street, along with an existing alleyway that will be utilized that feeds into Madison Street. Looking at the architectural plans, the mixed-use building is shown on the top of this site. There's a steep facade with a masonry base wrapping around the building. LP Smart Side lap siding comprises the upper floors of the building with large windows scattered across the building. Additionally, floor-to-ceiling windows with overhead garage doors on the retail portion of the building. Additionally, there are steel-railed balconies as well with glass patio doors. Looking at the other building, similarly, it has a sandblasted concrete base with LP Smart Side lap siding on the upper floors. Tall windows and glass doors wrap around the building in similar design, and the private front stoops are enclosed by cedar fencing. On the rear of the property or the building, there is going to be garage doors with additional windows and balconies. I'm looking at the floor plans. The mixed-use building has a lower level 2-bedroom apartment unit, storage lockers, and a hallway with stair access. Looking at the first floor plan for that mixed-use building, there are 2 1-bedroom units and a commercial space. Second and third floor plan shows the additional 8 units and a mix of bedrooms. Looking at the townhomes, there's 2 types of townhomes, type A and type B. This gives a fairly large unit space, and there's a mix of bedroom units as well. In that mixed-use building, there's 8 one-bedroom units and 3 two-bedroom units. In the townhouse building, there are going to be 8 three-bedroom units. Overall, we're very satisfied with the overall design of the site, architectural, and the park use. This satisfies all our design review guidelines and is a great example for what the city strives to look for in our in the application with our zoning code and design review guidelines. Here's a good rendering of the building shown at dusk or sunset. As you can see the future retail tenant space. This is looking towards the park space, which will be a public park, along with that lighting, decorative lighting, and additional landscaping on the site. With that being said, there is a recommendation for approval of the site landscaping architectural design review review for the mixed-use redevelopment, along with the creation of the planned unit redevelopment area, the certified survey map, and the land sale, subject to the conditions in the staff report. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Are there any questions, Eric?
I have a question. As far as like the cafe space goes, what is kind of like the intent? Is it going to be like kind of like morning, afternoon, or evening? Liquor licenses needed?
Yeah, so we do have the developer and architect here if they'd like to answer more to that, but we can answer to any other questions if need be.
Yeah, because
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Hook. I'm one of the co-developers. Joel Galbraith is my partner on the development. Galbraith Carnahan Architects. Be happy to answer any other questions. To answer specifically the question here, our ideal tenant is somebody who does use. Our goal is to have somebody that's a community gathering type of operator. Mornings, lunches, early evenings, preferably something that would shut down relatively early. If it's a cafe space, something like that, preferably lunch, activate the site on a weekend. The reason we've proposed it is to really make use of that park. The park, the townhomes, the restaurant space, all kind of are cooperating together to kind of build each other up is our vision for it. So that's the goal we have. We haven't have somebody in mind at the moment. We're kind of starting that process, but that's the target.
I just have an additional question. Now, as far as the park is concerned, is that just specific to this development, or is that open to the general public, and who maintains it?
It's funny you asked that. So Patrick could talk more about the details of the operation, but when we first came into this project, actually Patrick and Sean brought it to us and said, what would you suggest we look at here? And the first thing that Joe and I kind of looked at was reconfiguring it to scale it down and actually bring that park more to the public space. Bring it on the crossroads with the farmer's market instead of on a T intersection hidden in shadow. So our goal is actually bring it out there. It is a public park. We agreed to dedicate the land back, but our developer agreement requires us to maintain it. So cut the grass, shovel, trash, all those kind of things to keep it going. But one of the interesting pieces of feedback that we got, I met with a couple at the Community Development Authority meeting a couple weeks ago, and one of the things that they were concerned about was that exact question: how do we make this clear that this is a public park? And we actually sat down. That's one of the things we're working on, because I think we want it to be a public park. We want people to look to this as a place to go and to gather with their friends. And it was good to get that feedback from people to really refocus on that, to say, hey, we want this to be welcoming. We want this to scream, public park, please come here and hang out. This is not dedicated to the development and the tenants that live at the development. So we're working on the detail of that, but it's definitely one of the things that we're working on.
Thanks for the feedback.
Any other questions?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, we've got items 4A, 4B, 4C. Go to staff.
Oh, sorry. No, I couldn't do it justice.
Johnson, and Linda are here this evening representing JJ Enterprises' plan to expand and improve a site on 73rd Street. There's two lots on 73rd that are the subject of just the combination of properties as well as site improvements. And there's also an alley in between the subject properties that are highlighted there and the main current base of operations at 1900 South 74th Street. So the things that we're going to be looking at tonight as part of the project scope are, vacating a 14 by 100 foot portion of alley between 1900 74th and 1909 73rd, and then consolidating those two lots that are highlighted up there on the screen. And then the third part is to make those two sites that are really unimproved right now along 73rd functional, not only for the business, but screened and landscaped and stable, for the surrounding neighborhood. So this is the certified survey map that was submitted. It's a legal document prepared by a Wisconsin licensed surveyor to combine those two lots of record into one. So ultimately goes before the city's council and then gets approved. The other improvements, though, as far as and there's the vacation of alleyway along the western frontage of 1909 and the other lot to the south. This is the proposed improvement plan. We have something hot off the press here. I've been working with, I'll just pass these around here. Maybe you might have to share. Or not. Maybe we've got enough.
Everybody's got one here?
One more? Yeah,
One
there we
more?
go. There we go.
All right, you good?
Yeah. But I'll explain this just briefly, and then you can kind of see and follow along with what's before you here. But this is what sort of started the conversation, and as two properties that are zoned light industrial, I-1, there's a 20% landscaping requirement for sites that are going to be used for outdoor storage. And what JJ Enterprises does, they're a contractor of sorts with concrete and other things. They have excavation equipment for working their various projects that they work on. They want to store that excavation equipment on the two sites here, which are going to be combined. And as a result of that, the 20% landscaping requirement is needed. The initial plan that was proposed shows perimeter landscaping along the south, east, and north sides of the site. That alley is to the west. That'll be vacated, and then their main base of operations is sort of underneath the text there, but it's just west of the alley. That's where they're currently located. There will be cross-access back and forth between their main base of operations over on 74th Street and the 73rd Street location. And what you have before you, though, is an updated plan. What the site was once a major environmental problem in the city. It used to be Warden Oil, and as a result, I think there was a major EPA cleanup that was done back in the 90s. And as a result, there was certain horizontal and vertical contamination, soil contamination, as a result of the previous ownership. And it sat that way for years and years. The EPA got involved, came in and cleaned up, and they removed roughly about 6 feet of soil from the site, majority of the site, another 9 feet of soil from another portion of the site, and removed it, and it resides somewhere in a landfill, no longer at this site. But then the EPA put in a clay cap, and that clay cap prevents water basically from penetrating that cap and getting to any other residual that may lurk underneath. So the site has been stabilized from the EPA standpoint and from I believe the DNR standpoint as well. And the idea is typically when you pave a site like this and landscape it, you're disturbing the surface somewhat. So we don't want that clay cap that's down there protecting the subsurface below that from water or penetrating with foundations or with new concrete or catch basins. This plan initially showed a catch basin on the eastern side of the site to catch the water. It'd be graded and run off to that catch basin and then enter the stormwater system. That's a typical way of doing something. What's proposed here before us is, instead of putting a catch basin in the site, to design a rain garden or a bioswale that's large enough to catch a major rain event. And that's shown in sort of a hatched color in the southeast corner of the site, which would be near 73rd Street and above that existing dwelling area. And that's before you on this hard copy piece of paper. A fence would be around the perimeter of the site. It's shown along the north, east, and south sides of the property, and it would also then tie in to the main property at the 74th Street property to the west. I believe actually a concrete wall would be installed at the very end cap of that alley, just for durability and, with snow removal equipment taking place in that area. So we did just get this revised plan, so this hasn't been seen by anyone except for us right now, and it will be reviewed by our code enforcement department as well as engineering department. But I believe it is a good solution to the alternate plan, which shows a catch basin and then further risking penetration of that clay cap. So this is what's before us. Further details of landscaping details and screening details will be provided. A 10-foot high fence is proposed around the perimeter of the site, very much like just north of the tracks where Hoppy Tree Service is located. They did something very similar, and this is going to be sort of a bookend of what you see there, with landscaping along the street frontages, buffering that one remaining dwelling to the south, and just providing a solid screen around the property for not only security for the business, but also for some aesthetic as well as screening of the equipment that will be housed within the property itself. And let's see if this slide advances here. Here we go. That's the detail of the fence, wood fence around the perimeter of the property. And I should just mention that the initial, the applicant's initial request is that he would like to get started on putting that fence in around the perimeter of the property, and then follow up with, future phase of landscaping and pavement. We have received some additional information that we're going to be sharing with our engineering and staff just to review. But our recommendations are for approval, subject to what's listed in your staff report. First and foremost, approval of the vacation and discontinuance of the alley. That requires a public hearing with a Class 3 notice, so that request will go before City's Council for introduction, and then there's usually a 40-day period before it can be heard at a public hearing after 3 notices and mailings to abutting property owners. The council approval of the certified survey map is item 4B, and then 4C is a list of some conditions with respect to site and landscaping work that we are recommending. The site will feature 20% landscaping, so 1A is taken care of. The fence details we have. The location of outdoor equipment and storage areas should be delineated in the plan. That'll be coming in a forthcoming plan, which we're seeking your approval of this evening, but and to work with the applicant on the fine details here in item 4C. Just continuing on, these are more of the standard conditions with respect to street excavation permit and documentation and approval on the stormwater compliance. Item 2 is something that we'll be discussing with our city's engineering department, but as well as the DNR, just to ensure that we're following best practices and maintaining any continuing obligations that the DNR has imposed on the site. So with that, I'll open it up to questions. Thanks.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
What is the business in this area? What is the business?
Oh, yeah.
I must have missed it.
JJ Enterprises. They're
What do
they're
they do?
contract concrete, probably many other things, but concrete for sure, right?
Our business is housed off of 74th Street on the dead end. I was told when I bought it back in '99, it was Lincoln Lumber's old property, if that rings a bell with anybody, but, I think there's five lots where it says, existing building, where you just put the fence over it.
Sure, sorry.
We own from the railroad tracks all the way to Hicks, except for one property.
Thank you.
We do not manufacture concrete there. We don't crush nothing like Janago, nothing.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yep, Alderman Rowe, go ahead.
The gate, that's your only ingress and egress on Third?
I'm sorry, say again?
The gate, that's the only way in and out?
Yes, and that is currently there, current apron.
Okay. Are you gonna, can we require them to just go north?
Oh,
To egress, to leave?
Oh,
Like Hoppy always goes north to National, can you do that too?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We
Was
cut
that part
out-
of the thing that we're?
Yes. The only time we can't go north is when the cars are parked way too close on the corners.
Okay,
That's it.
cause the other way is Jefferson School, and that's just,
No,
Got
we wanna get to National.
good, thank you, Mayor.
any other questions? It's the pleasure of the commission.
I move to approve. Second.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alright. Thank you. Thanks. We'll take up item 5. That's you.
Sure, slide it over. Do this. Hello, Commissioners. I am pleased to announce the Birchwood Snow and Landscape Project, which is going to be an adaptive reuse project with a subsequent site, landscape, and architecture review.
Can you please speak up a little bit?
Yes, I will use my best projecting voice, of course. So just a little bit about the location. It's located at 10920 Lincoln Avenue on the corner, also along with South 109th Street. The existing business of this property was previously occupied by Henry Schein Dental, which was primarily a dental office supply store. Current zoning of the site is I-1, so similar to the previous summary we had you folks look at, it's going to be fairly similar to that. It's an adaptive reuse of the building, and the proposed business is Birchwood Snow Removal and Landscaping, as well as the potential for 4 other tenants in the building. So around 22,000 square feet is going to be occupied by Birchwood themselves for both landscaping purposes and indoor vehicle storage, whereas the other 53,000 will be occupied by up to 4 other tenants. The surrounding uses of the site are primarily commercial and retail to the east, west, and south, and residential, just a few houses up to the north there, you can see. In terms of outreach efforts for the site, the applicants are proposing outreach efforts to occur in that residential area, essentially just reaching out to the people that live there to garner their opinion and some of their comments regarding the proposed use of the site. Commercial and industrial property maintenance is going to be the primary goal of this site, with landscaping as well, with indoor vehicle storage considered a limited use within the I-1, district. So essentially there's going to be a condition that these folks have to meet in order for the approval of this site, which is 20% of the total area of the site must be landscaped. Moving now on to the site plan. Overall, there is ample parking already established at the site, angled, standard, and handicap parking included, with just one small strip of proposed parking to the west of the site, kind of near an additional business toward the southwest of the site. Kind of, if you look at the storage yard toward the top, go down to the parking lot at the bottom, just to the left of that, there's another use there. It's overall they propose an outdoor storage area. So we did request that the proposed use of this outdoor storage be indicated, as well as the potential for screening of materials also indicated on this site plan. I reached out to the applicants, and they have been most communicative, ideally, and they've already uploaded a new site plan into OpenGov, which I didn't take Steve's cue and print it off to show you folks, but you will be privy to in the near future. Essentially, they do show the location of storage bins in that outdoor storage yard area, and they do propose screening methods for it as well. Overall, the storage yard and that parking lot to the south are separated by a new 8-foot chain link black fence to the north and south of that storage yard, and there's also an existing monument sign that's going to be replaced by a multi-tenancy sign. That application is already in the process of review through OpenGov. The proposed building changes overall are pretty minimal in nature. just the addition of 4 new overhead doors for the birchwood occupied portion of that building. Now looking to our landscaping plan, we did take a pretty keen eye to the landscaping of the site, just because we wanted to know what was already established and what was proposed. I kind of drafted a diagram to the right that shows different colored blocks, and I'll go through and explain what they mean. The blue blocks, from what I could tell, appear to be existing landscaping efforts that they are going to keep in place. The yellow blocked out regions I took as either existing or to be replaced. Is kind of a mix of both depending on the site plan. But if you look to the southern portion of the site, that's primarily going to be the newest landscaping efforts from what I gather. If you look to the red block of the site, that was just a consideration upon discussions with Steve that the applicant could potentially landscape that site further to meet that 20% goal if they fall a little bit short. So overall, in terms of the landscaping plan, we are looking to see the demolition of 2 block walls to the south of the property, removal and replanting of trees in regions outlined above as I had previously explained, and the removal of landscape will be replaced with shredded hardwood bark mulch, Kentucky bluegrass, and some stone mulch with woven weed barriers. Once again, we're just outlining the contingency that we require they meet 20% landscaping for the total area. And next we look to the floor and architectural elevations, which remain largely unchanged due to the adaptive reuse of the building. So floor plans for the 21,000 square foot birchwood landscaping occupied section largely remain unchanged. They indicate 1 office area, which will house 8 employees, and then 2 restrooms are indicated on the site plan as well, whereas most of the space is going to be occupied by that indoor vehicle storage area behind the office. No other floor plans are indicated for the rest of the building as is pending tenancy, so we'll see those as tenants are approved within this building. Lastly, we discuss our recommendations and conditions. Overall, we do recommend approval of the site landscaping and architectural plan for 10920 West Lincoln Avenue. However, I outlined the following conditions. So we requested a revised site and landscaping plan to show stored outdoor materials, which the applicants have been provided and have been uploaded to OpenGov. Primarily, they're looking to store materials in the storage yard that include frequently utilized materials like stone, mulch, potentially salt in the wintertime. And that picture up at the top is the screening method that they propose and the storage method as well. Secondly, we asked them to indicate a screening method, which they also provided. And lastly, just based on a site tour Steve conducted to the site, he noticed that some regions of the property either appeared to be a little neglected in terms of landscape or potentially overgrown. We just asked that they maintain those previously established and landscaped regions to be compliant with city landscaping standards. Item 2, so per 19.33 subsection 6, we did outline the 20% landscaping requirement. We've requested that the applicant update their landscaping plan to fully indicate this percentage. They've reached out to Thrive, their company, and they're in the process of trying to gain that percentage from them. But like I said previously, there is that potential to expand landscaping in the proposed red blocked off site I had outlined previously. Third, and new, I haven't really touched on this much, code enforcement has indicated that they wish to see any evaluation or modification of the building's HVAC system to accommodate the new use as primarily indoor vehicle storage. And secondly, the applicant should also indicate whether vehicles will be serviced within the indoor motor vehicle storage area. Our applicants have reached out to their HVAC company, Forward Mechanical Plans, and they do have a proposed mock-up sketch, essentially, of the existing and modified HVAC within the building. They just didn't get the time to run it through CAD yet, so we will see those plans pending, but in progress in the future. And that's all I have for you folks. I'm open to taking comments or questions.
Questions? Go ahead, Mike.
Mr. Mayor, Emily, in the staff report on page 5, under design guidelines 3B, the very last item, it says the applicant must indicate whether vehicles will be serviced in the indoor motor vehicle storage area.
Correct.
If they do indicate there will be service in there, what happens?
I do believe that there are likely more stringent standards or different standards if you're servicing vehicles inside, though I'm not sure if there's a representative here for Birchwood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you know if the vehicles are going to be serviced inside?
So anytime we leave, we have to do pre-trip inspections. So we're gonna have to have, like, check your oil, check your tire pressure. There's like 15 steps that guys have to take before they leave. So I don't know if that counts as maintenance. We're not like changing engines or transmissions or anything like that.
Yeah, the portion of the code with vehicle service is really geared towards public. If you're doing oil changes or changing engines for the public that are bringing vehicles into you, and there's the constant turnover, but I think it's just expected if you have a fleet of vehicles, you're probably going to be doing some maintenance on site with those vehicles. And the more, it's not, I think the point of the zoning code is that with respect to service of indoor is regarding, is it public, is it open to the public? Can you take your car there and have Joe fix it for you? No, that's not what they're proposing to do.
You also wouldn't want me to fix it for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you're doing indoor, maintenance to it, do you have the system set up for, like, the oil and all that stuff?
The way we have pneumatic oil guns, so if we have to add oil to a truck or anything like that, you just put it on, you hit one quart and it pumps it in.
What about taking it out?
We won't be doing that there.
That's what
yeah,
I was
no.
asking, okay.
Yeah,
So any of the maintenance in that side will be off-site?
yeah.
Gotcha.
Are
Okay.
there gas storage tanks at all associated with the vehicles?
At the moment, we don't have plans for it. There's
Okay.
a gas station, I could throw a rock and hit it.
I have a question. You had indicated that you're going to be looking for tenants. Do you have any idea what type of tenants?
Industrial, mixed use industrial,
Mixed use
yeah.
industrial, okay.
We also have a large office space, so, professional, accounting, dentist office, whatever fits in. A lot of times when you do these mixed use developments, you have to make sure everyone gets along. So we're not gonna be doing like CrossFit next to a accounting firm.
Okay.
We've done that before. It was a terrible idea. It was actually Zach's fault.
That's on record.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Move approval.
Motion to
Second.
approve and a second. If there's no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll move to item 6A, 6B.
All right, thanks, Mayor. Navi Singh and as well as Terry Ramos are here representing the Rare. I think that's what it's going to be called. At least it was last year when you got your licenses. Okay, the Rare, which is a proposed alcohol beverage or liquor store with a unique feature, a tasting room. Actually, has received a Class B license, bar license for the building as well. So, as part of the scope of this project, there's two properties that are involved. Navi has purchased both of these properties at 7235 and 7225. To the smaller rectangle to the east is a existing dwelling house that'll be demolished, and then the liquor store will be remodeled, and that's the one at 7235. The garage behind the existing building at the commercial building will be removed, and then a new parking area will be created along the east and south side of the building. We'll get to the site plan next. So oops, I guess I missed an animation here, but I mean, that's the lower level is the street view. The small little cottage next to the Energy Expeditors building, the small little house is going to be removed with the tree, and then an angled parking area is going to be, and driveway will be along the east side of the property. The Energy Expeditors building will be renovated inside and out for the new use. Common Council has previously granted the license for the new property. It's just because of the site changes that are taking place here. That's why we're visiting this evening, and we'll get into that next. property is Zone C2 commercial, and liquor stores and bars are considered permitted uses. However, they're subject to licensing, which council handles. The combination of the two properties will happen via certified survey map. That'll go before the city's council, but the site plan can be approved this evening, as well as the architectural plan this evening before Planning Commission. As mentioned before, the house to be demolished, garage to be demolished behind the commercial building. It'll be a 5,000 square foot store with about 12 parking spaces shown on the site plan coming up next. A new driveway will be added along National Avenue in front of that small lot. And then and there will also be a refuse location on the site as well. This is the existing property in plan view. And then this is the proposed plan showing angled parking along that east side once combined. The other unique feature is that there will be a small patio on the northeast corner of the site. That'll be directly abutting the tavern that's going to be featured within the building as well. The concept, I mean, Navi could probably explain this a lot better than me, but the concept is if you're interested in trying something, a certain liquor, wine, or beverage, you can do so on the site, and you can also buy it and take it home as a packaged sale, take it home through the Class A license. And it also shows a new configuration of National Avenue. There's been quite a bit of change along National Avenue and economic development along National Avenue in recent times, the streetscaping being something that's very tangible and visible as you're driving up and down with the bicycle accommodations, new street configuration, bump outs and landscaping and hardware furniture that's along National Avenue. It's quite impressive, and National Avenue is a spine basically that runs through West Allis, and we're seeing a lot more economic development and growth. Not only as a result of the streetscaping, but also as a result of the National Avenue Corridor Plan and the different economic incentives that we offer along this corridor, such as commercial facade grants and economic development loans. So the floor plan is shown here. The image on the left is attractive-looking liquor store. This is Navi's Place on Lover's Lane in Milwaukee, and the proposal is to do something like that within the building. It'll be remodeled for merchandise display, a humidor, a wine cellar, as well as some updates to the exterior of the building. We'll get into that next. Most of the, I don't have a pointer here, but the cashier area is along that northwest corner of the building, and then the tavern area is on the northeast side of the building, and then the main entrance is on the very top part of that, in sort of that vertical thing in between the tavern and the cashier area. Everything you see south, those vertical lines and columns below that are shelving displays. Behind the clerk's counter is a shelving unit. It's about 2 feet deep, and I believe it's going to be fairly tall. Behind that clerk's area, those shelves will block views into the building or from the building, given the merchandise display behind the clerk. And there will be spandrel windows outside of that. Just a closer view of that area. You can see 73rd National Avenue for reference, with that cashier area with the shelving displays behind the main entrance vestibule, and then the bar area to the right of that. So one of staff's recommendations in our approval is that we're recommending a little bit more transparency between the street frontage of National Avenue and 73rd into the store. We think it's a fairly attractive store, as shown in that photograph from the location that Navi has in Milwaukee. But I think some sight lines into the building or out of the building are always important for a viable main street through the city. It does promote additional economic development, as well as an attractive curb appeal for this very building as well. The building has changed quite a bit over the years. This is the original design. It features a sort of an increased height, elevation of a parapet and shapes at that corner of 73rd National. And then over time, some different things have happened. And this is not unlike any other buildings, throughout the nation. This happened quite a bit in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and where you just cover up the real amenity of the building, which was the windows. Those were covered up over time, whether it was energy efficiency or just cost of ownership. They decided to stucco those windows in and then actually put some land and stone veneer over probably what was once transom windows or something above that. So, but the original brick of the building remains behind that, above on the parapet wall and along the 73rd Street elevation. The idea here that staff is pushing, I guess, with our recommendation is to really try to get back to, not necessarily back to the original design. I mean, that'd be great, but with every proposal, you can always modernize something, but still stay somewhat true to the original design. And what we have proposed before us this evening is a valiant attempt, I think, to try to resemble some of that. And working with Jerry and Navi, they've done, I'd say, a good job of trying to replicate that original look with some elevation changes over the main entrance. There will be transparent glass in front of the pub area on the left, but the 3 windows on National Avenue on the right, as well as the windows on 73rd Street at that corner behind, are the area where that cashier will be. And that with that cashier, with the display, merchandise display behind the cashier, probably running more or less floor to ceiling, it does block the view. So the initial design that we received didn't have any windows in that area or on the storefront. And working with the team here, they have put some windows on, but the windows on the right side and wrapping around the corner are spandrel. That means you can't see through them. They look like windows from the outside, but you don't have the function of visibility through them. So it's staff's opinion that those windows should be transparent, and I know that comes at a cost of reducing the merchandising display, and that's real money. That every square inch of that floor plan has to make money, but we understand that. But at the same time, we also really don't want to undermine the work that we've been doing along National Avenue corridor, both with streetscaping and economic development. We think windows are a very vital portion of that National Avenue corridor plan. Aside from that, we are recommending approval, subject to the conditions in your staff report. One of the other mentions in here was just working with the applicant on the variety of different building materials on the exterior. The original building material was primarily just brick and glass, that red brick and glass. Some additional materials are being added here with a stone feature, a stone veneer on the lower portion and around the entryway. And then moving up to that raised entry portion, there's like a wood-clad siding above that. And then there's metal ACM panels around the new windows. So there's roughly about 3 to 4 different materials going onto the building in addition to the brick, the original brick. So just would like to work on maybe simplifying the message a little bit, or simplifying the exterior, maybe going back to more of a traditional brick on that lower part rather than introducing a stone. And then also working with the applicant on the windows themselves. And the ACM panels are one option. I'm not sure if that's the best option, but maybe there's some other things we could explore, versus the metal panels around the new windows, whether it be larger windows or maybe some transoms above, just something to try to better reflect the original design intent. And I know that the team here is open to ideas. We'd like to work with them and keep this project moving. But I've opened it up right now, I guess, to Planning Commission's discussion as well. And we have the applicants here as well to answer any questions. Thanks.
Why the spandrel glass in that section? Why are we doing it that way?
Can I answer that? The reason it's because the plan was designed for defensible space for him. You see that the counter is properly situated for visibility of the whole store. That's the reason why it's like that. So everybody going in and excuse me, inside and outside the building passes through the vestibule, and that's the best way to control people from going in and going out. So if you look at all gas stations, mostly it's situated like that for defensible space. Once we do that now, we have all those display areas in the back. which when you open up the windows won't look so nice. But with the spandrel glass, it will be reflecting the outside of the building. So it will still look nice. It's not hollow, or it's not solid. Because it's like going into a mirror, you see yourself. It's like expanding the room. So with that, that's an option for us to be able to, excuse me, to preserve the design.
And can you look out, they just can't look in? Or,
No, because we have the display in there that's blocking that.
gotcha.
So if you open it up and see the displays, it will not look so nice. So that's the reason why with that now, you will have a building that will show windows, except the other sides are reflecting the other side, which will still look hollow, but not as solid. But at the same time, you can see through. But the ones by the bar, that's all see through. So if you're passing through there, you'll see the whole store from that side. It's from the vestibule all the way to the bar, is all see-through glass.
Wade?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Steve, why does the planning operation want to focus on that old building? The original date of building that first building is what? 1800s?
20, yeah, 1920-ish, yes, 20s.
I mean, it looks like a dump. And why not start over? As opposed to worrying about trying to carry on some theme from a bygone day that just looks ugly.
Yeah, I would agree that this vintage looks ugly. You know, that was wrong. That was a bad decision. You know, so nothing against Energy Expeditors. I'm not even sure they did that. It could have been some other prior use. But here we are, we have a new property owner and they want to make some improvements to the building. And, you know, that will look like, you know, with the elevation that we showed here, somewhere, I'm going the wrong way. But, so, I mean, they have the basic elements that are there. I mean, they have the brick, they're introducing some windows, some transparent, some spandrel. They're not proposing to tear it down and rebuild. So they're trying to adaptively remodel and reuse the building. So we're suggesting that this basic form is still there. Why not try to get back to some resemblance of the origin where it started, rather than the midpoint where they schlucked it over with stucco. So, sorry for my terms, but I mean, that's, you can make something can be modern but yet look old. I mean, we've got a great example of this right across the street from us, Perspective Brewing. It was John's Shoe Shop, and there was metal siding on one half of the building and brick on the other. They peeled off the metal siding and they restored, put new windows in and freshened up the brick and put architectural lights on it, and it looks fantastic. But it's basically a brand new building. They redid inside and out, but it's still very respective of the original Main Street design that was built back sometime in the 30s.
As someone that worked on that project, all the bones are still there. Unlike this project that the top is gone.
Yeah.
I think there's some give and take with the newer and the existing.
Yeah.
I guess I echo your comments about the glass, the percentage of glazing that is on that facade. I think a lot of these, you know, that north or the national corridor,
Yeah.
you know, having that in there, and I think there's a way to add transoms. Or you know, you think about these historic buildings that have these storefronts that you could see into and see the product. I think it's kind of reversed now, and you don't see out. So adding, transparent glazing to that, or some sort of transom. Is the existing brick that turns the corner, is that staying there, or is that being covered up now too?
The top is remain, and then after on the other side,
Yeah.
all those brick are going to remain.
Okay.
Everything is, except that just from the spandrel, that's the only thing that's being changed.
Sure.
And we were just discussing it, if after we talked to Steve, instead of using the chair on the lower level, we can come up with natural brick for that, but face bricks. Okay.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be face bricks because we don't know what's behind.
Yeah.
We haven't torn it down yet until this thing is approved, so he'll spend only if everything, if the part. So.
Yeah, I agree with the comments too about like eliminating the metal panel or making that glazing area bigger. I had a question about the site plan, how that refuse enclosure like works with the traffic flow through the parking lot, cause it seems like it's like right in the middle,
Sure.
unless I'm reading the drawing.
There you go. This one?
Yeah, so if you're parked in the angled parking, do you loop around that to get out on 73rd Street, or how does that work?
Yeah, you would exit, you'd come in off of, it's gonna be directional, so you enter off of National Avenue, and then travel south towards the alley, and then turn left, or, I'm sorry, right around the refuse container, and then you have the option to park, and then exit either the alley, or you could exit the other driveway on 73rd Street. So the parking stalls 12 through 8 are most likely going to be accessible either through the existing driveway or the alley. And you can come in off of 73rd, you can come in off the alley, but if you're going to be parking in those angled stalls, you need to come in off of National Avenue. Yeah.
Just wonder if there's a better spot for that on the site rather than kind of in the intersection of that parking area.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. And one thought could be to place it further, maybe behind the building
Or
itself.
that stair or something, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's employee, taking up the trash. It just seems like an odd spot.
Is that the location of the refuse area, Navi and Jerry? Is that something that you've considered maybe alternating?
Good answer.
No, go ahead. I think
He
this
is
is
familiar with the tracks, and taking out the trash
Yeah.
is the best way, is because sometimes they don't use the alley to do that, so they can just back up and pick up the trash and go. With
Okay.
this layout, everything works that way. But if we're gonna reroute, the problem is then there will be a lot of wasted area coming from 73rd Street, turning left and all those, for us to be able to come up with and then all the lights, this way, the lights are focused to the building, so there's nothing focusing on the neighbor. But once you come in from 73rd going to the building, then all the lights are gonna go focus on the neighbor. This one, we're trying to eliminate that. Coming from National, all your lights are facing to the building, and it's blocking, and it's not affecting any neighbor.
Wayne?
Thank you. Steve, I assume the applicant will need a West Allis liquor license?
Yeah, that's been applied for, and they've actually, they haven't issued it yet, but they've granted it last year. So, Navi came before the city's council last year and requested that license. It was granted, but subject to, the site improvements that are being made. Once,
Thank you.
it can be granted, I guess, at any point.
Move approval.
I had a question.
Go ahead, Helen.
Mayor Devine, but you're not the owners from a year ago, are you?
Navi is.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're still gonna have that glass wall and everything going down the middle, or was that just for the Highway 101?
Say that again.
You own the Highway 101
I
too?
own the Carpet Town, yes.
And didn't that have some sort of dividing line going, or glass or some sort of divider
Going
between
the bar tavern, right?
Is this gonna happen?
This one no, it's not. So that's why we have license only till 9 o'clock. But the Carpet Town, they have totally separate tavern, which one you can walk back and forth from the tavern to the liquor store. But 9 o'clock, we can able to shut the glass
Okay.
doors down, so we can keep it till 2:30. But this one is only until 9 o'clock because we are separating the tavern.
Okay.
But this possibility now, after speaking to Steve, one they give me option, we have an outdoor patio. Now we are thinking we are totally separating the bar. So maybe we making a glass wall to close that room. So then we can change our hours for that tavern only. But now at this moment, we're still till 8 to 9, I think. So there's possibility to separate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We had a motion to approve, I don't know if we had a second. We had a second, and then,
Just so I'm clear, is everything, I guess, within the staff recommendation? And what we're asking for are, I guess 1 and 2 are, item 1 is a certified, but in item 2, we are asking for more transparency into and from the storefront, and which means, that's cutting into the merchandise display behind the clerk, where the clerk stands. And these are the conditions. If there's any questions or discussion on this, but this is what staff is recommending.
Yeah, I agree with those recommendations.
All right, if there's no other discussion, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you. Then we'll move on to item 7.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you again for
The
108.
next one.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Mayor. The 113 Greenfield, L. Holtz?
Pick a seats now.
That's all we could get earlier.
Is it L? And,
This is not us.
oh, it's not A, okay,
No,
all right,
we're
okay.
eight.
Number 8, mind
Number,
if we go to 8 right
should we,
away?
should we go to 8? Let's go to
Okay,
8.
let's set them free.
Yes, yeah.
Sure.
Let's go to 8. Sauls. Okay.
Thank you. This is for Saul's Auto at 5312 on Electric Avenue. This is for a light motor vehicle service. Service includes routine maintenance, oil changes, brakes, tire rotation, detailing. The zoning is in I-1. It's in this industrial portion on the far eastern side of West Allis. A conditional use permit is required for light motor vehicle service in the I-1 district. Hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sunday they'd be closed for operations. Looking over the basic site, there are 2 points of access. The main entrance would be along West Electric Avenue, and then that is shown on the bottom photo. And then the vehicle access is shown via an overhead garage door on Mobile Street. No major site changes are planned. There's operating in the existing building that was a former ambulance related business. There was some recommendations with the refuse area along West Mobile Street. We are requesting additional screening to be required as part of our design review guidelines. And then also, we want to ensure with the applicant that the space is large enough to be emptied and maintained, and with the inclusion of screening. Additionally, we need more details on landscaping, but we can work with the applicant on that later and approve that at the staff level. I'm looking at the floor plan. As mentioned earlier, the main business is access via Electric Avenue for customers with parking shown. We are requesting 1 ADA stall, but looking at the site, looking at the floor plan, there's a front desk area with employee areas and a bathroom, and then the workspace begins in the back of the building with that access via Mobile Street. And with that being said, we are recommending approval of the conditional use permit and site and landscaping plans, working with the applicant on those additional landscaping plans, refuse enclosure screening, and the inclusion of the ADA stall. But the other recommendations are pretty standard and are included in the staff report and on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Comments? Motions?
Second.
Motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All set, thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
Ready to go back to item 7 then?
Sure. Thanks, Mayor. Oop, I'm going the wrong way. All right, this is a preview of there we go. Okay, so item 7 is a reuse of a building. This is formerly Milwaukee Plumbing on the ground floor on 113th and Greenfield, and on the second floor are 2 apartment units. The proposal is that Milwaukee Plumbing has since moved. I believe they moved just a little bit further west down Greenfield Avenue, and I think they're having a difficult time leasing out that ground floor commercial. They'd like to convert that to an apartment building. So it'll go from a 2-unit mixed-use apartment or building to a 3-unit development. The site's somewhat unique in that it has angled parking along the east side of the property along 113th Street. And in your staff report, you'll see that our city engineer, was recommending, and planning was actually recommending removal of those angled parking stalls, or those parking stalls along 113th. Since that time, I guess we've learned that there is one additional unit upstairs. We were initially thinking it was just an apartment unit upstairs and an apartment being proposed downstairs, but there's actually 2 upstairs and 1 proposed downstairs. And in speaking with the city engineer, I think we want to discuss our recommendation a little bit further, but we can get that in a second. But the main idea here is converting that lower commercial unit to a residential unit. They'd be making some site changes, modifying. There's an existing driveway that straddles the property line between this property that's highlighted there on the right image, and that other commercial property to the west. So basically, putting that existing driveway along Greenfield Avenue, skinning that up a bit so that it no longer provides access to this location, and then converting that pavement out in front to grass, so it looks more like a front yard. Removing the monument sign, removing the fence are all proposed. And then behind the property, there's an existing attached 2-car garage which will be utilized. And there's also space for 2 parking stalls behind the building. So while that's all well and good, it does present some issues if you do have, say, 3 tenants in the building, each of which have 2 cars. You have 6 vehicles. There is space for at least 4 vehicles on the site if we were to get rid of that angled parking along 113th, but there'd be 2 tenants that would have to park in the street, which is an option. It's not against the rules to do that, but it also presents some problem with jockeying of vehicles, different tenants that may park in the garage versus tenants that park in the slab behind the garage spaces. These are things that the owner brought up in concern with this, and I think in speaking with Melinda, our city engineer, I think we're willing to take a look, sort of another relook or rethink of removing all that parking along 113th Street. Maybe some of it, but not all of it. So with that, just some other details showing that narrowing of the driveway, grassing the front lawn, removing the fence and the sign. Bless you. And then there's an awning that would remain over the front door. And then the floor plan, it's kind of hard to read here, but it's one unit, the master bedroom, 2nd bedroom, and then living room, dining room out front, over the garage and back. So it's sort of a rather large apartment unit. And then just some other views, a view up above from 113th Street showing that parking along 113th, and the view behind of the attached garage. And then this is the 2nd floor units, which will remain intact, no changes up there. So we're recommending approval, subject to the conditions. However, we want to take another closer look at item 1A. I don't know that we want to remove all the angled parking at this point. The owner has expressed concern in marketability of the additional unit, and even with the respect of our city engineer, I guess we're taking a look at logistics of it and how that'll all work out. Certainly not everybody has 2 cars. Some people don't have a car at all. I mean, it's possible that you could rent to somebody without a car or only 1 car and still work this out, but I think we want to take a closer look before we just make this blanket statement. So aside from that, though, the other conditions being solid. So thanks.
Questions?
Steve, can you go back just a few where it shows the overshed right there?
Sure.
So where they're standing, is that what you want to have covered over? And
Yeah.
put in a curb and grass?
Right. We were initially, what was thought is to remove all that pavement completely and put in put a curb in, and then a grass terrace between the new curb and the future walkway, and have a sidewalk travel further north. Now, the neighborhood to the north of the alley, doesn't have a sidewalk at all. It is something, we do want to sort of encourage, and one of our goals in our comp plan is to encourage sidewalks throughout the city, and have that be more of a, just a hard and fast rule. If you don't have a sidewalk, you know, when we get around to the street, you're gonna have a sidewalk eventually. I know that that's a political issue, but, and the comp plan is a guide, but it's something that, we do wanna mention. But with the additional unit, being added, I mean, the angled parking was really primary for the commercial vans and, you know, the plumbing company. But with the added tenant space, residential tenant space on the ground floor, there may still be a need for some parking there. Maybe not all of it, but something. We can perhaps maybe grass and green up more of the front end of it,
And then just
closer to
hold
Greenfield, and maybe keep
Give them like
space
3 shots,
further
3
back.
three
Yeah.
parking spots in the back.
Yeah, or maybe even less, maybe 1 or 2. Or maybe we take a different look at the whole configuration, and maybe make it more of a parallel parking configuration, where you have cars that would otherwise be parking parallel along the street frontage itself, maybe have a little space, an indent, or a bay for some parking parallel along 113th rather than perpendicular to 113th. So we'd like to work that out with our city engineer, but we're seeking plan commission's approval at this point with, I guess, with that stipulation.
I mean, I would move to approve, I just don't necessarily know the whole thing has to go away.
Right.
You know, that is big, kind of an eyesore right there, but it's better than having no business there at all.
Sure.
And just letting it sit there,
Mhm.
which happens a lot in West Allis right now. So, I mean, I guess that would be the only thing that I would say is I'd move to approve, but I don't think they would have to get rid of all of it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Start on Greenfield and come that way, well, that's so you get any more grease or grass up towards that way.
Green up towards the corner and,
Yeah,
So
pull
where
the green around
yeah,
the
see where the
corner.
stop sign is?
Yeah,
All that section where, even up to that first window, that can all get greened out. And then you would still have just enough parking spot where people really from the street wouldn't see it. Plus, it's a residential, it's not an empty building. It's got green up in front then. I mean, that's, to me, that would be the halfway point that I would meet at.
So is that included in your motion then?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll say.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
Anybody opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. We'll move to item 9.
thanks, Mayor. Sam Stair owns the building at 5916 Burnham, which is Vince Vitale used to have his barber shop in this building, and when I had hair, I had a haircut somewhere in the middle portion of that building, on the ground floor. But this new owner, Sam Stair, owns this building, and it needs a lot of attention. The exterior of the building and likely the interior it's a dated building, and there's been a lot of deferred maintenance. So we're working with Sam on a commercial facade grant, and as a result of that, we need planning commission approval and consider his scope of work, which includes re-siding the building, repainting the awning, and touching up otherwise the fascia of the building on the exterior. This is the property. It's just under a quarter of an acre. It's zoned commercial, and it's a mixed-use building with apartments above and commercial storefronts down below. It does feature a parking lot behind the building, and there's a refuse dumpster in the corner of the lot right now, the northeast corner of the lot. It's unscreened, and there's a couple mattresses laying next to it. So we're, aside from what we're talking about in terms of commercial facade, this does also reach into site planning, and we are recommending a refuse enclosure be added around the refuse area, and probably the refuse dumpster being relocated closer to the building as well. But the applicant is proposing to replace front, side, upper, outside walls with modern durable siding, removing any satellite dishes and wiring, painting and sealing brick and concrete on the lower level, repainting metal roof overhang, and then he'd like to restore and replace storefront doors as well as I think storefront windows to brighten up the street frontage. this is an elevation that was prepared by an architect a little while ago. It's not necessarily representative of the scope of work he submitted, which is about $100,000 worth of work, and sort of outlines the different types of insulation and siding that he's proposing on the exterior of the building. So as part of our recommendation, you know, the scope of work offers more detail than that rendering I showed previously, the hand-drawn rendering. So we're asking for some changes or a plan to be submitted to us that's more or less representative of the scope of work that he's proposing to do, as well as identifying, you know, this is the color palette that he's provided, but he really hasn't selected what color. So give us a clue, and we'd like to work with him and get this thing moving forward, because the building definitely, it's been sitting too long dormant and needs freshening up. We're really focusing on the Burnham Point neighborhood. It's part of our comp plan. It's part of mayoral strategic initiatives, as well as economic development, really trying to get this area working properly. And so refuse and dumpster, property maintenance are keys to clean up of this site, as well as just providing doesn't have to be a very detailed plan, but it can be a little bit better annotated plan, just referencing the specific details of the scope of work, enclosing the dumpster, and then site maintenance. So that's our recommendation, and open up discussion and comment.
Questions, comments, motions? Wayne?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Steve, has the owner considered to talk to you about another option of calling in a bulldozer?
Really about tearing stuff down
Approved,
tonight.
right, yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, no, they haven't, not with us. He's been focusing on just doing something in the exterior, and I think the mayor probably knows the story. Probably doesn't want to talk about it, but I mean, the mayor knows the story quite well, working with the owner and just sort of prodding him to do something, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is recorded, so I'm not saying it.
Yeah. So the bulldozer option is not proposed by the applicant or the owner. They are proposing just reface the exterior this time.
Windows and doors, top and bottom?
Windows, doors, that's
and bottom?
a good question. The scope of work it tells a story of siding and some other stuff, but I don't know that it tells the complete story. So, gutters, downspouts, venting, louvers, fire stopping.
Is it lap or is it panel? Like it's hard to like.
Yeah.
It's just like kind of going back to the liquor store conversation about the
Yeah.
store quality character of this building. I think
Yeah.
it needs to be reevaluated.
I honestly, yeah, I mean. I'm trying to find out.
See, like talking most stores that lap siding, they got
Yeah.
trim.
I would really like to keep this moving, just because it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
A long time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would absolutely love to have it redone.
And honestly, if I don't think it passes tonight, we wait a month, it's gonna come into winter, and then he's gonna tell us that they can't do the work in the winter, and we're gonna be sitting here next April again.
I'll move to approve.
I mean,
You got it.
honestly, it was September
No, you're right.
2022 when we started this discussion.
We're inevitably going to continue working with this person.
Better to get it done now.
Yeah.
Well,
We
how
have a
about,
second also?
Hey,
Yeah.
Steve or Mr.
Mhm.
Mayor, could this be added to the tracking report then, since
Sure.
Yeah.
it seems like we want this to move, but there's a lot to probably, at least in my mind, be kind of defined a
Process,
little
yeah.
bit more,
Sure,
but
sure.
does that need to be in the motion here to add it to the
No, I
tracking?
think we'll just add
It's
it.
fair, yeah,
Okay.
that's fair, yeah.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. We'll move to item 10.
Alright. And last but not least, it's always a good day when you get to talk about a new mural in town. It's exciting stuff. But yeah, we are looking at a mural proposal at Paul's Jewelers. Overall, the proposed mural is going to be on the eastern side of the building, overlooking their parking lot, existing already, and the proposed cost is going to be around 10 grand. In terms of existing conditions, the east wall is already painted masonry block brick. I don't know if I meant to put block, maybe brick. And it does look like there was a previously established sign there. Within the scope of work, they were looking to either paint over the screws for that sign or just simply remove the sign overall, but it didn't seem to be a great hindrance to the project overall. The proposal includes power washing and priming the facade, and then using spray-on paint to create the mural. Overall, those are the dimensions of the mural intended, and it's going to come to about 802 square feet in total. Overall, our recommendations are based on the standards that the signage should apply to under the Creative Signage Code, and within this, we look at design quality, contextual criteria, and architectural criteria as well. Overall, we are recommending approval, but we do have to caveat that with some components that they may be missing, but they make up for, in terms of design strength and visual appeal of it. So they meet all of the qualifications for design quality, such as, substantial aesthetic improvement, a unique design, providing a strong graphic character. They've got all that, no problem. With the contextual criteria, they do have a classic design, creative image, and symbols and imagery, but they do not have necessarily an inventive representation of like the use of the building. We don't see any diamond imagery, we don't see any gemstones, the like, but overall, they do meet that third regulation of architectural criteria, enhancing the existing elements of the building, and it's placed in a very logical location. So, due to the fact that the sign has an overall positive impact on the surrounding area, it has a unique design, it invokes imagination, and a strong graphic character, we believe overall, it's staff opinion, that the requirements of the signage are substantially satisfied, although it is not an advertisement for said business inside. I'm open at this time to hearing your comments, your suggestions about it. We didn't find any issue with it, but if you folks have any ideas.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Doesn't the city have a committee? First of all, I support creative signs. I think they're really pretty impressive. This one I don't like, but that's just in my eyes, the eyes of the beholder. In my eyes, I don't like this, but isn't there a committee in the city that approves creative signs?
It did this afternoon.
Approved today, yeah.
They met on this,
Yeah.
and they approve this?
They did, yeah.
Well, so get rid of the committee.
I think you're sitting next to one of them.
I am kidding. I move approval.
Is this the actual picture?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they submitted, and that's just a little before and after.
I think they're gonna have,
Bike path with ice.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's in there?
I think they're getting a $5,000 grant,
gears
so we're,
and then-
Yeah, we're contributing from the Artscape funding.
yeah.
I mean, yes, I would second that.
The other thing I
Unless
think
we
is
could
positive here is that
change it.
there's not much public art on the west side of the city.
Yeah.
So I think that's a plus.
And part of
Even
the
though Wayne doesn't like it.
Part of the reason why it's bicycle themed is the owner just became a bike friendly business with Bike Fed, and he is going to be selling some jewelry pieces reflective of biking. I
Ooh.
forgot, I was just updated on this.
Well,
I
there
forgot
you go.
what exactly
It is
but-
representative of the business then. I take back I take back what I said. As that insider knowledge there. So
That's good.
Could you put, no, it's already approved.
We haven't voted yet, but yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, put little gems in the little,
Petals.
no, on the
Something
bike
that
path.
shines a little bit.
Little gems on
Oh,
the bike path and
like,
then,
like the yellow brick road.
yeah, I don't know. It just looks not, I mean, whatever. It looks better than what it is.
So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're gonna motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thanks, all.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Get well.
Thank you all.
Going home, going to bed.
Yeah.
Go home and get some soup.
I'm gonna have a hot.